Welcome to Sleepy Time History Tales, the quietest corner of YouTube. Tonight, let's drift into history's odd little pockets. 5 strange stories that never made it to the headlines, but are just boring enough to help you fall asleep. There's no drama here. Just soft, sleepy storytelling and curious facts from the past. So, dim the lights, take a deep breath, and prepare to wander through the cobwebbed hallways of forgotten moments in time. Let's begin. Mantelpiece Clock Story 1. The king who collected clocks but was always late. King Augustus of a small German duchy in the 1700s loved clocks. Not just a few. He collected more than 500 of them. Each clock ticked at its own pace, creating a strange symphony of chimes throughout the castle. Despite this obsession, Augustus was known for being incredibly late to everything that he missed meetings, delayed dinners, and even showed up hours late to his own parades. When asked why, he'd simply say, "My clocks are arguing again." Eventually, people stopped scheduling events and just waited until he appeared. Ironically, when Augustus passed away, none of his clocks displayed the correct time. Some believed it was a final joke. Others said he simply loved the ticking more than the telling of time. In the end, the man who loved clocks most may have never cared what time it actually was. Bed Story 2. The emperor who banned flat pillows in 14th century China. Emperor Shenzong believed flat pillows made people lazy. He ordered the palace staff to replace every pillow with ceramic blocks shaped like clouds, dragons, or lotus flowers. These pillows were hard, cold, and anything but comfortable. But Shenzong insisted they kept the mind alert and the spirit upright. His court had no choice but to follow along. Even though many nobles woke up with sore necks, travelers to the court were baffled by these sleep stones and often returned home with stories of the emperor's bizarre bedtime habits. Despite the discomfort, the trend briefly caught on with some aristocrats who wanted to appear disciplined. But as soon as Shenzong died, everyone quickly switched back to soft pillows, grateful to dream in peace again. Scroll Story 3. The town that held a parade for a rock in 1897. A quiet town in Vermont decided to celebrate a local discovery. A perfectly round boulder found in a farmer's field that didn't glow or float. It was just round. But the town, looking for something to be proud of, named it the Great Globe. They built a platform, tied ribbons around it, and held a parade in its honor. Children sang songs, the mayor gave a speech, and tourists came from neighboring towns to see the most perfectly boring rock in America. Eventually, the rock was forgotten and rolled into a ditch. Years later, a sign was placed near the spot reading, "Here once sat a rock worth remembering." No one quite remembers why. Funeral Urn Story 4. The pharaoh who hated cats, but built them temples anyway. Most pharaohs of ancient Egypt adored cats, but not Pharaoh Nefertari. He disliked how they stared, how they knocked things over, and how they always seemed to judge him silently. Despite this, religious tradition demanded that he build temples honoring Bathe, the cat goddess. So, Nefertari constructed the most magnificent cat statues Egypt had ever seen. He commissioned murals of lounging felines, even though he refused to keep a single cat in his palace. At night, he'd mutter under his breath about the furry little spies. After his death, priests found his private diary. 1 entry read, "I may rule Egypt, but the cats rule me." Some believe it's why cats still act like royalty today. Magnifying Glass Tilted Left Story 5. the explorer who got lost in his own city in 1763, Sir Reginald Thorne, a retired explorer of the British Empire, decided to spend his final years mapping the small town he lived in. It had only 10 streets and a single bakery. But Reginald insisted every building be documented. One afternoon, he went out with his notebook and never came home. Locals found him 4 hours later, sitting behind the bakery. Confused and slightly embarrassed, he claimed the layout had shifted and blamed mischievous winds for changing the streets. The mayor kindly suggested he stick to indoor hobbies. Still, Reginald finished his map, adding a note. "Here be the place I was utterly and completely lost. It's the only map in town framed on the bakery wall." ZZZ story number 6. The Pope who refused to wash his hands in the 17th century. Pope Innocent X was one of the most powerful men in Europe, but he had a strange habit. He refused to wash his hands with regular water. Instead, every morning, he ordered his priests to prepare a basin filled with red wine and crushed rose petals. He believed that water carried the sins of the people and should not touch his holy hands. No one dared to question him. It became a ritual. Priests carefully prepared the wine mixture each morning, whispering quiet prayers as they poured it into the golden bowl. Some thought the Pope was simply proud. Others believed he was deeply superstitious. But regardless of the reason, for more than 10 years, he cleaned his hands only with wine and roses. When he passed away, legend says his hands still carried the faint scent of flowers. This story is rarely told in history books, maybe because it had no great consequence. No wars were started, no laws changed. But in a world full of conflict and kings, one pope who simply refused to use water might be one of history's gentlest rebellions. ZZZ story number 7. The Festival of Books nobody reads in a quiet Spanish village called Yawn. Only around 200 people live there, but the town has 14 bookstores. And strangely, most of the books are never read. Each spring, the village hosts the Festival of Books nobody needs. Locals bring out old books to the town square, place them on tables, and just look at them. No one has to read. People sip tea, sit quietly, and some even fall asleep next to the books. One villager explained. Books deserve rest too. We open them too much. Let them breathe. There are no lectures, no speeches, no shouting. Just soft sunlight, quiet pages, and the sound of old books being still. The tradition has lasted over 30 years. Visitors are often confused. Is this really a festival? Yes. It is a celebration of forgotten knowledge, a peaceful moment where stories sleep beside the people who once loved them. Sometimes, the most boring festivals are the most calming ones. Thanks for wandering with us through the slowest corners of history. If you enjoyed tonight's sleepy stories, consider liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell for more gentle journeys into the past. We post new bedtime history tales every Tuesday and Friday, perfect for winding down after a long day. Until next time, may your dreams be calm and your history wonderfully boring. Good night.